All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the session for today. We are excited that you guys are here with us, joining us on this Saturday and evening for me. But I do have a special guest for us here today. And don't tell her I said this, but she's actually one of my favorite guests that I have here joining me today here in the industry. And we'll just keep that between us. We won't let her know that I
Yeah,
meant.
try not to tell me.
But I do want to say let's give her a nice warm welcome. And Tanya, if you don't mind introducing yourself to everybody, so they can know who you are.
Of course. Hi, I'm Tanya Kleckner. I'm the director of the TV film division at HRI Talent. You can tell from my accent, I'm from England originally, but I have been a TV film agent for a long time. I've been a TV film agent for 30 years, and I'm also SAG franchised. Yeah, and that's basically me. Yeah. Well,
That's it. Just that sums up all of you.
That's what I've got, right? And I'm excited to be here today.
Perfect.
Well, hopefully answer questions and whatever you guys need.
Yeah, definitely. If anybody does have questions out there, you're tuning in, feel free to just post that in the chat. We'll make sure that we get that over. And we're just here to talk about the industry, talk about what it is that you do, of course, for work, and just get to know you a little bit. We are excited. Now, those of you who do not speak British, we do have you could probably do closed captioning, so that whenever Tanya speaks, we can understand her.
Yeah, I'll try and slow it down for all of you and use American words so you can understand what I say, okay?
You're fine. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know you are. I'm kidding.
So tell me, I'm curious about your journey. So obviously you were born.
I was born. That's correct. Yes, I was born. I was born in England.
We've established that.
Yes, that happened by my parents. And then actually when I was 19, I was bored in England. Had a great time in London in the 80s, good times. And then I came out here and I did some work out here. Actually got my green card when I came to the US and needed a job. Basically, I needed to pay my bills. And I landed a job in a big agency. They had some very good actors, well-known actors, and I was on the reception. I landed a job on the reception desk, and I think because they loved my British accent, they kept me there. And I kind of noticed that there were two senior partners who had an assistant who was struggling with her position. Running their desk, because it was a very busy desk with big, they had A-list actors on their desk and stuff. But I was like, I can do that job. So I was like eyeing up that job, and within 2 months, luckily for me, but unlucky for her, she got let go, and they asked me if I wanted to fill that position. So I kind of just fell into this work. So I really didn't have any idea what it was initially when I landed a job as a receptionist, and then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, I was on the desk of the senior partner's desk, running 2 offices. Crazy. You have to be able to multitask literally like 10 things at once, and you've got 2 very strong personalities in your ear all day long. The guys, obviously they can't multitask like a woman can, but yeah, it was a fun desk, and I loved them dearly, and they were actually very good to me. I've still got some wonderful friends from that agency, and that was back in 1994, and we didn't have a computer on our desk back then, by the way. That's how long ago that was. I had my twirly Rolodex, and I knew everybody's phone number in my head. We didn't have to, we didn't have cell phones back then either. That's, it's like olden times. Anyway, after about 2.5, 3 years, they made me junior agent, and I used to run I used to cover the independent film. So I really enjoyed the indie film market. So I used to cover the casting directors that would do all the indie films. And back then it was like really good times, because they would pay good money too, because a lot of agents do work on commission too, and so we'd have names, and so producers would come to me like, we want to attach this person to our film, and we're going to have a lot of the budget to pay your client. And of course, they would have named people that I would attach to their indie film, and then you'd get a part of that commission. And it was happy days for me at the age of 27. So yeah, you guys can do the math. 20, 26, 27. So I was there for a long time, and they taught me how to do TV deals as well, and series regular deals, and obviously studio film deals and all of that. So yeah, it was a good time. And then I kind of moved on. I thought I want to do some management for a little bit and to kind of be more hands-on with actors. And then I realized managers really don't do all the negotiations with the studios and networks. And that was kind of where my passion is. So I went back to being an agent, and that's what I'm doing now still. So here I am 30 years later, still doing it. I don't think I have skills for anything else. So I'm kind of stuck. I'm stuck with it until I retire, but I do enjoy it. And I have working actors on my books. I have, actors that we all kind of recognize on TV that work, and I field offers, and, they work, it's fun, but I also really enjoy discovering new talent still. That's still kind of in my heart, and my passion is to, discover new talent, to build their resume, to get them out there, to get them seen by the casting directors, and be able to make that call to them when they book their first job, and hear them cry on the other end of the phone. And that kind of still brings me joy and makes me realize this is why I do my job, is to kind of help make people's dreams come true. And it fills my soul again after we've had, when you've had a whole month of hair pulling and getting no's from everybody, and then you get that yes from somebody that you've really believed in and you found at a showcase, or found from a manager, or they were referred to you by somebody. So that's why I do what I do every day, 70 hours a week.
I love it. And I've been interviewing different industry reps and professionals in the industry, and asking them their background story. And it's funny because not one of them have said that they were intent on getting a job in the industry. No. they all say the same thing, where they just kind of fell into it. Mm-hmm. Everybody had an idea in their head of maybe something they may want to do, mm-hmm. but never the intention.
Well, I come from a small village in England. I mean, I was raised by my father, who was in the music industry, and we were surrounded by celebrities in the music world, big celebrities in the music world with my father. So I was kind of raised in that environment, like I guess a rock and roll kid raised in that kind of world. So I always had creativity around me, and that kind of environment around me, and that kind of craziness, fun, excitement around me as a kid. But I didn't know any different. But what I did know is I wanted to be in the entertainment business, not in front of the camera, but behind the camera, and do something. But it was always going to be in music. So when I went to college, I was learning live sound. I wanted to be a live sound engineer. That was my goal. That's what I wanted to do. And so when I came out here, I did actually start working with somebody that he used to work for the Scorpions, and I guess Pink Floyd, and like a few things. And I was trying to navigate my way around that, because I was doing that in London for a little bit, a very big studio. And then I wanted to come out here because it was obviously warmer climate. And I got with some really good people in England, and then it wasn't paying the bills. So I had to find a job. I went to an entertainment temping agency. If you know what temping agency is back then, I guess you have them now, right? And they literally found me a job. My first job, actually, funny enough, was I was on the news desk for the head of the news person at ABC Eyewitness News.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I stayed there for about a month, and I loved it. I was the one answering the phones where people were calling in with the big stories, like regular people were calling in saying what they'd just seen and stuff, and then I was fielding the calls, and I was temping for a month because the woman was on maternity or something. That was one of the best jobs ever. And then I moved on to the artist agency back in 94. So I just fell into it. And I loved it. And I love the people I work with. Unfortunately, quite a few of them have passed away. If anybody's seen the show, The Offer, which was how The Godfather was made with Al Ruddy and Betty McCart. Betty McCart was played by Juno Temple. Betty McCart was one of the agents that I worked with who helped train me as well. So that's kind of it was a very old school agency. They've been around forever. Yeah.
If anybody's seen The Godfather out there.
Yeah, she had a lot of fun stories to say. Yeah, she had I think she dated John Wayne as well at one point, and he picked her up in a helicopter. So there's a lot of very old school agents there that trained me.
I didn't realize he rode in helicopters. I thought he only rode horses.
Yeah, funny. Yeah, they had helicopters back in those days.
No,
you're very quick. You used to be an actor.
when you're telling me your story, your backstory, I'm thinking, did they create the Holiday movie after you? You know that movie, The Holiday, where they do the switch.
Oh,
There's
the Cameron Diaz. You know,
yeah, there's a
funny
little
enough,
girl in
you know the village that she goes to. My sister lives there.
Okay. Very
And when I was back in England, I went and had some wine in that pub.
nice.
That, you know, where she's in the pub and she goes and sees Jude Law. He wasn't in the pub, unfortunately. But yeah, my sister's there in that village. Yeah.
Very cool. I worked with Cameron Diaz back in the day as well. Actually, it's probably the same time that you started. It was 95, back in 95. So you
Oh,
were,
wow.
yeah.
Can I ask what you were doing back then?
So UCLA Studios. So as a working photographer, I was actually, her publicist had contacted me and mentioned that she needed to get some new updated shots because she was about to be featured in her first movie, and her career was about to take off, and they needed just some new promo shots.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was literally same day. They called, and I must have, I don't know what number of photographer I was, but I think they were scrambling, and they said, hey, are you able to meet us at UCLA Studios for, she was doing a not an infomercial, but a little promo commercial. And they said she's going to be filming, she's going to be on set, and we need to get a couple of updated shots with her before her movie gets released. Have you ever heard of her before? I said, who is it? And she said, Cameron Diaz. And I said, no, I haven't heard of her yet. She's like, okay, yeah, she's up and coming. She's going to be in a big movie coming out.
Oh, wow. How amazing. Was she lovely?
Oh yeah, she's great. And she's, when I watch her on film and, on her shows, she's exactly that same person. What you see is what you get. So
yeah, that's good. Oh, I love that. What a good story.
Yeah. So that's probably at the same time that you were there.
And that was like a lifetime ago, right? That was, you think back then, you look at photos from back in the 90s,
right?
You look at the background, even the cars, even the TVs, like
even
the phones, and you're thinking, that's crazy. That looks like olden times. It's vintage, right?
Well, it's funny because you're describing your work at the desk, as an assistant. You had the Rolodex out, and obviously a phone board, right? It's attached to it.
And I think I still have the Rolodex too. Yeah.
And some people are tuning in. They're going, "What is a Rolodex?"
Yeah, I was speaking to somebody the other day. I was speaking to an actor who we were thinking about. We were talking about the Filofax. I know we've gone off topic a little bit, but the Filofax, I had one every year. Yeah, that was my Bible. I kept it with me wherever I went. And
right.
If you lost your Filofax, you were doomed because every phone number was in that. Your whole life was in it.
I'm picturing like Mad Men episode, like you scrambling around in your office, working hard.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was a crazy office, but everyone was great. And actually, I met my best friend in that office, and she's still my best friend and the godmother to my 28-year-old son.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah.
So going backtracking a little bit more, obviously 80s in England. Now, what are some of your favorite groups?
Oh, we're really going off. I loved New Wave. I loved, I had crimped hair, but I also went through a thing where it was as big as possible, went through a can of hairspray a night, but I loved Echo and the Bunnymen. I loved Susie and the Banshees. I'm sure no one knows who these people are. I know you do.
We can Google it afterwards, right?
Yeah, Susie and the Banshees and Echo and the Bunnymen. I love the bit Simple Minds. Yeah.
And your dad was in the music industry, so you said that you got to meet a lot of different artists as well.
Say again, sorry.
Your father was in the music industry, so you got to meet a lot of artists.
Yes, I did. I met a lot. Yeah, and the studio I worked at was a very big studio, so I was working at a place called Nomis Studios, and they were a very big studio where I worked with a lot of people. We had The Who in there, we had Led Zeppelin, Metallica, even Jerry Lee Lewis was there. It had like 10 studios. They were live studios. So I would go in there and they would train me to kind of, mic up the drums and the keyboards and the guitars and all of that kind of stuff. And sometimes because it was a rehearsal studio. So if you remember Live Aid in England, that's even where the bands from Live Aid rehearsed as well before they went out and did that show. So some of the biggest bands in the world rehearsed there, and I was working there. You know, I was young, and so I was being trained, and I'm actually still friends with a lot of the people that worked there. Yeah, I've got a lot of stories from that place. And actually, funny enough, someone just posted on my Facebook, I know we're friends on Facebook, at the video of what happened to that studio. It's now flats in London, in West London. But some of the biggest people have rehearsed there. You name a band, they've been there. And so, yeah, that was an incredible time. Yeah. And then sometimes you'd leave them in the studio, and then you stand outside and you just hear them playing. And sometimes when it was one of your favorite bands, you would just literally listen to them and hear them playing. It'd be amazing. And then at night time, I would be on the night shift, which would be 4 p.m. to 11 p.m., which when we finished, if they'd finished, they'd be like, hey, let's go for a drink. So I'd go and have drinks with them too. So it'd be fun. Yeah, I've got a lot of stories. Thank goodness there's no cell phones back then.
Right, no social media to post.
But then I look back and I'm like, oh, because there were so many good stories, like some of the best times of my life. Yeah, it was fun. I definitely had a good time. Met a lot of really good friends that I'm still really good friends with today.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, Tiffany from Phoenix is saying that she knows a lot of these bands as well, so she's familiar with your repertoire of music.
Oh, good.
Do you still listen to those bands?
Of course, absolutely. And I love it when they do like I know, because I like something that kind of gets me moving, especially after a long day at work. So and it's weird because then I'll put in my I was gonna say iPod, in my phone, to put it through on my speakers at home, like a remix. I'll do my favorite song and then I'll put remix afterwards, because I want someone that's remixed the song, so it's kind of a bit more upbeat and gets me going. 80s remix, I mean, put that on, I'm happy.
Gone are the days of CDs, right? Did you ever have a large CD collection? Or
I had a large CD collection, but I do now today I still have a record player, and I do collect vinyl. I still have vinyl. Something about the smell of vinyl that I love. So I do have.
I collect vinyl as well, but my record player broke, and I have to get a new.
Oh, okay. There's a good place here in LA. There's an old guy that does refurbishes old, because I love the smell of the old stuff. So
yeah, I love it. Yeah, the CDs were great, but it was kind of dangerous once they had them in cars. Remember, you would like have your big folder of CDs, and you'd have to like switch them out, and as you're trying to drive.
Yeah, but I couldn't, because every time I opened my CD, there was no CD in it, because I lost every single one of them. They would disappear, and it would be the wrong CD in the CD case. So they were just useless to me. Yeah. And then, or they'd be on the floor of the car, and then they just get trodden on. Yeah, I'm that person. Yeah. They just,
the scratches that they start skipping as you're trying.
Yeah. But my record collection I do take care of that.
Nice.
Because I'm a grown up now, so I take care of it. I'm a bit more responsible.
There's nothing beats vinyl. Do you have like a large collection? Is there, like, if I were to walk into your house, is there like
no, it's not that big. No, I still have a few from when I was younger, from the 80s. Not that many, because my mum sold them when I moved here.
Oh,
so mad. But I still managed to scrape a few that she didn't sell, because she just wanted to get rid of stuff. So she just sold a bunch of stuff, including my record collection. And she's like, you don't need them. You'll never bring them to America. And I'm like, well, that's true. Anyway, and so I collect them now. I don't know. I haven't got a lot, but I've got a good amount. But they're not all up on my wall.
Yeah, I love it. I love going to. We were in Australia just a few months back, and we were walking down. We were grabbing dinner, and there was this area where you could kind of walk down the street, and there's little pubs and little restaurants. And we walked past a window of it looked like a restaurant where a guy was live mixing with records. He had a huge collection.
I love that. You start doing the mixing. I can't do it. Sorry.
But I love it because, he's sitting there with his record, and then he has to like step away and dig through his stack and try to find his next record that he's going to throw on.
Well, they have even, because when you loved back in the day, in the 80s, you used to get the 7-inch single, but if you loved the song, you'd get the 12-inch version, right? You'd pay that little bit extra to get the extra version, the 12-inch version. I always remember that, because I was younger back then, so I didn't have too much of my own. My mum would give me like pocket money, so you'd get that extra. I'm like, but I really love this song, Mum, so I need that 12-inch version, because that's the remix version, right? That's the extra. extra long one. So
Right.
now I get the 12-inch version every time because I can.
This generation is so spoiled nowadays, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
With they could just type in any genre they want to hear and it would just play for them.
Much easier. Yeah. iPads, all of that stuff. So much easier.
Well, I want to pick your brain a little bit about the industry. I know you've been working, as an agent for a while, and you have a lot of knowledge in this area. And I have a few questions that are coming in, so we'll definitely get to those as well. But one thing that I always like to ask is what's the one thing that sticks out in your mind that a client does that impresses you?
Communication. And there's a few things I have to say, not just one. I mean, communication is key. I always find the most successful actors are the ones that consistently stay in class and communicate with me, because those are the ones that I really do trust and really instill my trust in them. Because what's happening to me as an agent every single day, I am submitting on breakdowns. If nobody knows what breakdowns are basically, I'll get NCIS that comes in every day from the casting director, or an episode of Wednesday, or an episode of Grey's Anatomy, or my new favorite show, The Pit, and that's broken down by different roles. And so I'll submit my client on a role, and then if I think my client's really good, I'm going to pitch my client to that casting director, and then they'll come back to me and they're like, great, let's get him on tape or her on tape. So I'll go to my actor, right, got you an appointment, I need that tape within 48 hours. And now I know now that actor's going to come back to me very quickly, go, got it, it's going to be done. Boom. I can trust that actor because they are on the case. I'm not going to swear, I'm like something on the case. And those are the ones that are most successful. They know they're going to get the tape in on time. The tape's going to be incredible. It's going to be top notch. And then, I'm then going to upload that onto the casting director's link. And because I know I can trust that actor, because it's not going to be excuse after excuse every time I get that person an appointment, trust me, we do get those actors where they've got a headache that day, or they've got to go and do something with their family member or something, can I get an extension? I know, Jeremy, that happens too, which I get. Life happens. Life gets in the way sometimes. I do understand that, but sometimes I need to make sure that, my actor is going to be trustworthy every single time, because every time I pitch an actor to a casting director, it's like gold when you get these appointments, and I want to make sure that you're going to be able to do that appointment, and we can hand that appointment in, because you have to remember, I work for free until you guys book that job. Am I just going off on a tangent a little bit? I'm hoping I'm answering the question. But those are the ones I find are the most successful, the ones that communicate with me. It doesn't take me a day or two to track you down saying, hello, did you get your appointment? Are we going to get the tape in? Can you let us know, please? But I just find those are the most successful, because I know that we have that really good communication and we work well together. That's what works for me anyway, and I just think that makes a very harmonious relationship, as well as an agent and a client too, because I know every time I pitch, I'm going to get that tape. It's going to be easy. We want you guys to make our life so easy that we know we can get those appointments. We can, what I'm saying? I keep going around in circles, but that's basically what it is, right?
So somebody who's good at communicating. Now, how do you know that they're good at communicating before you say bring them on as a new client?
Well, we don't really. We have to trust our instincts, and because I've been doing it for 30 years, we're pretty good at that. If I see somebody at a showcase, or managers do refer actors to me, that's how I find a lot of my talent too. So the managers kind of tell me that they're ready for an agent, so they're kind of, they're not going to give me somebody who's not going to be good to work with. But if they're brand new and they don't have a manager, then normally I'm going to sit down with that the actor, and we're going to have a conversation. And I can tell pretty quickly if you're really invested in this, if this is something that you really want to do. I've had actors, when I've spoken to them, when I've seen them, their tape, and I'm like, wow, they're really talented, I'd love to meet this person, but they are so new. And I've had a conversation with them, and literally in the meeting, they've told me, well, I do have a full-time job, so I can really only audition after 6 p.m. So if there are any Zooms, it has to be after 6 p.m. Well, that to me is a red flag. I can't really work around your work schedule. I need to make sure my actors do have a flexible job. I do understand that you have bills to pay and all of that, and I do have a heart, and I do understand that, but you have to remember as well that we're trying to build your career, so we really want the best for you as well. So we want to make sure that you are flexible. We kind of see subtleties. We can tell within the meeting if you're going to be easy or not. But sometimes, my gut's been completely off, and I've started to work with you, and I'm like, within a month, we know pretty quickly if you're in this or not.
Right. So little red flags, obviously, the way they answer questions with you, even body language, I would think, on some questions, right? Kind of.
We can really tell if you're really like disciplined, you're in this, you want nothing else. Something that I always tell people, if they're like, yeah, I think I just want to kind of like dip my toe in, or I just want to kind of dabble in a bit of acting and see how I feel, see if I want that. Well, no, I'm not going to work with somebody who wants to kind of dip their toe in to see how they do, because I'm going to be giving everything to you guys to really work with you. And it takes a while, if you're one of the really lucky ones, within a couple of months, you might book a show, you might book a guest star, but it can take a while. I always say there's like no such thing as an overnight success, really, because these actors have worked their butts off to get on that show. They've had a lot of no's before they have that yes. So, you really have to work hard. You have to be training, I always say, every week. And you have to do a lot of self-tapes. We have to build that fan base. And, I'm always I always tell my actors as well, I'm on this journey with you. We're in this together. You obviously have to be very likable. That's important to me as well. Especially if we're on the same team, I want to make sure that we all get along. You have to like me too. That's important as well. But I'm your champion. I want you to book. I want us to win. I want us to enjoy the ride. But so that first meeting, I know pretty quick if you're in this or not. If you're kind of on the edge and not quite sure, and you're thinking about it, and you're like, yeah, I woke up, and I'm like, yeah, so what kind of training have you done? And you're like, well, I've just, I've looked in the mirror and I've trained with myself in the mirror. I've had that before. I've read plays. I've watched some stuff on TV. I know I can play that role better than that actor. No, you can't. That's great that you have the passion in you, but you have to have that foundation. You have to train. Training is very important for an actor. And I feel that networks and studios want to see that as well. They want to make sure that when they hire you as an actor, that you have that training. Why would they hire somebody who has nothing on their resume, who's so green that when they walk on set, they have absolutely no idea what they're doing? Because if you can't do it, it's going to cost them a lot of money to have to replace you. So it's just very good. You need to have that foundation of acting. I always say it's like being an athlete or a musician. It's like that muscle that you've consistently got to keep exercising and keep moving. Like I say, Al Pacino still has a coach, right? He's like one of the best actors in the world. So, why shouldn't you guys be training and have a coach? There's no reason why you shouldn't be. So that's important.
Right. Well, it's funny that you say you ask questions. I hear your dog.
My dogs. I apologize.
What kind of dogs do you have?
I have they're both mixed straight from the shelter, terrier mix, and we think he's like we're not sure. He's a Cocker Spaniel and a something else, Shih Tzu and something else.
Did you get a DNA test done?
We did. We got one on one of them, yeah, but the other one we haven't. Is there Elvis and Bruno are their names?
The other one, you just don't care what
no, I don't care. They were just one. They were one of them was on death row, so I had to pull him. Because he was about to be. So I got him out and I got him home, and I was like, what have I done? He's a nightmare. He had some mental health problems, but now he is amazing, and I couldn't imagine my life without him. He's my baby. So but he was a mess when I got him. He had issues.
You sound like
doesn't have issues.
You sound like every mom out there. he was such a pain, but I'm so glad I have him. I'm blessed.
Now I do. At the first, I was like, what have I done? He is mental. Like, he's crazy. He was running around. He had terrible separation anxiety because I've just saved his life. And yeah, but he's fine now.
I can't go to, I cannot go to a shelter. That's the one reason why.
Well, you have to go to a shelter. That's why you need to get your dog. And I'm all for it. So
Yeah,
I'm very pro.
So I have
go to adopt. You can adopt. No breeders.
So I have a cat.
Okay.
In Puerto Rico. I don't know if you're familiar with the cat issue that's here.
Yeah.
Cats running around. And this cat, I was pulling up on my my motorcycle in acai bowl place. I was grabbing acai on I think it was a Saturday morning. And I pull up and this cat comes running at me.
Oh.
Meowing, like just as loud as can be, and he was the size of like in my hand. He could this little kitten.
Where's your baby?
And he had the biggest ears and the biggest eyes, and just you could see his rib cage, right? You could see his rib cage, and Denise was with me, and she goes, we go into the acai bowl restaurant there, and she said, do you guys have lunch meat that we can buy from you? I gotta feed this cat outside. So we go outside, feed this cat, and went back in to get our bowls, and they said, oh yeah, so that cat his mom used to be around, but since the hurricane like 3 weeks ago, we haven't seen the mom. So of course
you can't leave that cat.
Yeah, no, well, we did leave, and then Denise says that a couple hours later, that cat is going to die if we don't save it. so yeah, that's the story of the cat, but I do not go into shelters because
but you saved your cat's life. That cat was meant to be yours. I'm a firm believer of that. I found real quick, someone threw a cat out the window on the freeway. It was like a teeny tiny kitten. Luckily I wasn't too far behind, and I pulled over on the busy freeway as the cat was like slowly getting into the freeway, and she was so friendly that I was thinking if she's like feral or scared, she's just going to go and get squashed. But thank God she just looked at me, and I picked her up, and she was literally like on the palm of my hand. And so my son actually ended up fostering her, and she's now with a friend of mine, having the best life ever.
Living the best, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because I'm like, should I keep her? I'm like, because she's so lovely. But then I thought, I don't want all my furniture scratched, so I just got a nice couch, like a new nice couch. I thought, I don't want that.
Real quickly, so the hurricane was Hurricane Fiona. This was maybe like a couple of years ago, and so I wanted to name the cat. We're trying to, we had him for a couple of weeks. We were planning on trying to adopt it and give it away or something. We just didn't want a cat, and I take it into a vet, and the vet says this cat's 6 months old. He says the reason I know this is because of his back teeth that are grown in until they're 6 months, and this thing was so tiny. So he was so malnourished. He was just not getting food. And anyways, Hurricane Fiona was the hurricane where he lost his mom. And I thought, it'd be fun to do like a Shrek themed name, right? And so I can't name him Shrek. That's just appropriate for a cat, right?
Yeah.
So I said, let's name him Donkey.
Because I like that.
He has the exact personality, like exactly. If
the big ears.
Donkey was a cat.
Donkey's a good name. I like that.
But Denise said, no, I'm going to name him Prince Charming.
I like Donkey. One extreme to the other.
I agree with you. So now when I take this cat to the vet, they're like, oh, is this Prince Charming? Yes.
Now Prince Charming. That's cute. Oh.
So that's we digress here. Well, I do want to say your story about how if an actor's serious, you ask them questions. Obviously, the first interview is a big take for you to really kind of probe and feel like a way for you to get to know them. I love that you say this because all of my clients, I always tell them, hey, when you go in to meet the agent, I always try to prep them. If they don't have an agent, they don't have representation yet, I always say, okay, here's what you're going to do. They're going to lead with some very vague questions to probe and try to get to know who you are. Answer those questions vague. So because they're nervous, and so here's an example, like you said, the person was talking about their job, right? I'll tell my clients, hey, I know you have a job, and that's fine, but
Yeah,
this is what you want to do, right? This is going to hopefully take over your job at some point. So what you need to say, if they ask if you have a job, say, yeah, I do, but they're very flexible. I could be available to you at any time.
that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear because, yeah, I mean, I've had somebody I've met before and they said, well, and they were great. Their self-tape was good. They were talented, but then they told me they only got 2 weeks off a year, so they could only work 2 weeks in a year
Oh,
on
wow.
a TV show. So I was like, all right, well, it was so lovely to meet with you, but I wish you the best. How can I work with somebody that can only work 2 weeks a year? I need somebody that's going to be available. I mean, I work all day, every day, pushing you
Right.
guys for auditions, and I can't work around your schedule. You know, if it's a guest star or a co-star on an NCIS or, like I said, Grays or one of these shows, I can't, you know, check on what date it is. Does that work around your schedule, your shift at the bar or your shift at the restaurant or shift? I don't know what you do at the office or whatever. I can't do that. I just need to make sure that you are available,
Right.
because what I'm doing is, you know, I need to make sure you're in acting class. I need to make sure you're growing as an actor. First of all, I'm not going to take you on if I don't feel you're ready to audition. I'm going to look at a self-tape of yours. If I feel your self-tape is good and you are ready to audition, that's when I'm going to start giving you auditions. That's when I'm going to take you on as an actor. I will not take you on if I don't feel I can sell you as an actor. I'm ultimately a saleswoman. I'm a businesswoman and a saleswoman. That's what I do. So I need to make sure that you are ready for me to sell as an actor. And then the way I work is I'm selling you to the networks and studios. I'm putting you forward for these roles. And then you're going to start auditioning for these roles. And it's okay if you don't book these roles right away. What we're doing is we're building a fan base. So if the casting director for this TV show says, oh, David wasn't right for this role, but you know what? He did such a good job. We'll remember him for the next one, the next role, the next TV show that we do, the next film that we do. And what we're doing is we're building a fan base for you, which ultimately makes my job a little bit easier because those casting directors get to know who you are. So then when I submit you, I don't have to keep pushing. Oh, you have to know this guy, and because they'll just bring you in, right? So you'll start getting more auditions, and those auditions will start building and building. You will start auditioning more, and more casting directors will start bringing you in, and that's kind of how it works. We just have to make sure that every audition is really good, that it's really solid. And like I said, doesn't matter if you don't book the job right away. It's about making fans, and that's what is important. Yeah, trust me, it'd be nice to get the jobs because we make the money, but that's not what we care about at the beginning. We want to build the fan base for you. It's about the longevity of you being an actor, a working actor. It's not about being a star. Everybody what seems to want that. We want you to be a working actor, doing great projects, having a good time, auditioning, all of that good stuff. And that's basically it, you know. And that's what my actors do. I have wonderful actors on my books who I genuinely love. They all work very hard. They are easy to work with because I make sure, and they make sure that we all get along really well. And luckily I like to think they like me too, because that's important that you like your agent who you work with as well. You're a team, right? And that sometimes we go through projects, and you know, their tapes are always great. We upload those tapes, and you know, it's just kind of that circle. We just keep going until those big bookings come in, you know.
Well, I don't see why anybody wouldn't like you. I mean, who's not to like about that great accent too?
Oh, you're being kind. I had a client send me a card because Michelle made me laugh, because I don't generally get called out that I'm a sweet person, and the client wrote a card and said, "You're so sweet. I love you so much." It was like a beautiful card, and I kept that on my desk forever. And I kept showing Michelle, who in the office, like, look how sweet I can be. People do think I'm sweet because that's generally not the case.
You're very firm at work. You're very professional.
Well, I'm professional, but I'm firm. I wouldn't say. Yeah, you have to be firm, I guess. I think it's more thick-skinned, because you can't. And I'm honest. That's who I am. I am honest. And I try and be kind because the business can be hard, you know, and it can be upsetting sometimes. And we get those days we're like, I need a glass of wine. Oh my goodness, you know. but I am honest, and over the years you do learn to grow a thick skin and not take things personally. I have a rule that when I get down about something, so because when I lose the big job, that would have paid my mortgage for a year, or things like that, you have to remember agents lose those big jobs too. I know that you guys actors do too, and it's devastating, and I feel for my actors. I really do, because I love them, and I want them all to succeed, and I'd love to be able to book all these jobs too. That I have a 24-hour rule that I get down, I can get sad about it, and after 24 hours you literally dust yourself back off and you carry on. So I think, yeah, I've definitely grown a thick skin, and not to
So you allow yourself time to be discouraged and depressed and
24 hours. Yeah.
and then that's
I
it. And that's
speak to
done.
a couple of people in the industry that we're like, why are we doing this job? What else can we do? And that lasts for 24 hours. And then we pick back up, and then something great happens with another one of our clients. And we're like, this is why we do this job, because we just booked, this gal or guy on this role. And we've made their lives really happy. And now I feel happy. And so
I love that.
comes back around.
Can I steal that from you? Can I borrow that?
What? The 20, yeah, it works. That's all. Okay. Because otherwise it's just shit in it. So.
Well, no, I like that, because it's funny. I was listening to a podcast, and the guy said, I give myself 15 minutes a day to just be discouraged and depressed and afraid or frustrated, whatever it needs to be. And then as soon as that 15 minutes is done, he goes, I turn it off and I'm done. And
I try and just do that when I've had, like, when I'm really excited about a role and we've done the test deal and the whole regular role, and we've gone through everything, and it's taken 2 weeks and we're really fighting. It's down to my client and the other client, and it's a lead in a series. And I don't get my hopes up all the time, because you never know what's going to happen. But then when you don't get it and you get that call, you're just like, you become so deflated. And then I have to tell the client that news, and it's upsetting. I don't like to deliver bad news to an actor. You just feel for them. And I've been doing it for a long time. You'd think it would get easier, but you know what? It's just because I always feel the role wasn't meant to be. It's not like I'm a doctor or anything. It's not life threatening, it's not, but I still don't like to see people hurt. So, we just say that role wasn't meant to be. And I'm a firm believer of that, because clients that haven't booked something, a series regular, they've gone on to book something else that's been just as good, if not better. Because they're obviously doing something right if they're testing for network, right? They're obviously good enough to be testing for network. So just keep going.
Do you seriously secretly boycott that show or that movie or whatever it is?
Yes. There's been a couple. I just can't watch it.
Right.
Because it's like, yeah.
You don't have to.
But in all fairness, I'm a Downton Abbey girl, so I'll watch my British shows, to be fair, and then I'll see the show, and I'm like, oh, that'd be so good if I had a lead on that show. But it is what it is. But I'm happy for other people that get it. It's kind of, sometimes if a client, if a manager has the lead, gets the lead instead, I'm happy for them. We're all in this together. Right. But yeah, I do like my British shows. I have BritBox on my Amazon app, so.
Nice.
My hubby and I watch the Brits stuff a lot. It decompresses my brain.
Now, I do have a question that somebody was asking. Do you work with clients that have no resume built? Like, if
yes,
really
that's what I mentioned before. Yes, I would. If you're talented enough and ready for me to sell, to put in front of the casting directors, yes, I will. And I've booked series regulars with people that didn't have a resume. Yes. If you're, like I said, if you're in class, if you're studying weekly, and you're in this 150%, and I know how dedicated you are, and you're just want to get going, and I can tell how passionate you are, how dedicated you are, and your self-tapes are phenomenal, I'm absolutely going to work with you, because I'm like, you know what? And us agency and managers too, we're a little bit psychic. We can see that invisible dollar sign on top of your head. We're in this to see, okay, this person's got money written all over them, because they're in this for the long haul. And of course, absolutely, we will start sending you out. And I love finding those diamonds where you don't have anything on your resume. And I've actually got somebody now that I'm working with that doesn't have anything on their resume, and they are so talented, and I'm so excited by them. Their tapes are so phenomenal, and they were just pinned for the lead in the Peacock series.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, and like they're going to book soon, knocking on wood. And so those I get very excited about, because I love introducing new people to casting directors, and casting directors love finding new faces that are just so talented. So everybody's open to that, but the actor has to put their part in as well. They have to train. You have to work hard on your end as well. I'll work hard on my side of the bargain, but you have to work hard as well and make sure those tapes are great, they're strong, that you make sure you're training, and we get those tapes in on time and all of that good stuff, you know. But that's I enjoy that. I really do.
I have a question coming in from the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for joining
Everywhere.
us. I'm sure it's late there right now, but Sandia, I hope I say your name right, but she's asking, is it possible to work together? Do you have clients outside of the US?
I do, but they do have an O1 visa or a green card. I have clients in England. Well, being a Brit, you know, I love working with British. I do work with a lot of British agents, and they do send people my way, especially because I watch a lot of British TV. So I actually reach out to agents in the UK to see who their representation is. And Australia too, actually, and South America. So yeah, I do. And there have been incidences where sometimes the network has sponsored that person. I don't know how it is now, because things are changing here a little bit, that they've sponsored somebody to be a series regular, but it's better to get a visa here if you can. But I do work if you're talented, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously laws are always changing, and
I'm not an immigration lawyer, so I don't know.
You're not the expert, but you know it's possible to get it done. And
yeah, actually, I have had somebody that was from Amsterdam, but he had a green card and he was going back and forth. Yeah.
I love Amsterdam. I spent a little bit of time there. It's a beautiful city. Actually, all through the Netherlands. I've
been over all over Europe. Actually, my father lives in Portugal, so I go there a lot. And I've been all over Europe, because obviously I grew up there. But I've never been to Amsterdam, funnily enough.
Really? Okay.
No.
It's funny. I've only spent a little bit of time in Portugal. So next time I'm out there,
Portugal's lovely.
I'm gonna have you meet me out there.
Nice. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, actually, England. I would love to go to England and spend some time, you know, especially like in the countryside and things.
The countryside's beautiful in England. Right. That's where I'm from. I'm from a tiny village.
I love it.
Yeah, it was
very cool.
Yeah, talk about like surreal moments because I put one of my clients as one of the has a really nice supporting role in Halloween Ends. And I grew up in a tiny village, and my dad was he and I would watch Halloween films in the 70s. In the 70s, the first one came out, late 70s. And those were our favorite films growing up. And, you know, being an agent here in LA, you know, I don't think about it. You know, I'm in an office every day. It's not as glamorous as people think at all. It's hard work, like any job, really. And then you're suddenly at a premiere of Halloween Ends, sitting next to Jamie Lee Curtis and your client, thinking, I never thought this would happen, sitting in that village in Ashwell in Hertfordshire with my dad behind a cushion. And now I put someone in the film, you know, because I put a lot of people in a lot of films, and that was the one film that was like, oh wow, this is a kind of a surreal moment. I'm
sure Dad was very proud too.
To be back to my childhood. Yeah, of course. It was awesome. It was just an odd moment. Yeah,
I love that.
But that was good. I do like.
I have another question coming in here. Let's take a look. It says, finding an agent's difficult. How do I find a reputable agent to represent?
Well, you have to make sure that you're ready for an agent. That's what's important. And when you are ready, so if you haven't had any training, again, I keep going back to the training. I know that's boring for everybody to keep hearing. training is so important. So when you are ready to find an agent, you can email an agent. Sometimes I have people email me out the blue, and what you need to do is when you email an agent, do your research. You can look up IMDb on IMDb Pro, see who their clients are. Do they have clients like you? Are they too big for me? That kind of stuff. Do your research, and email the agent, and make it short and sweet. We don't need an entire background on you, big giant email, because we don't have time to read that. We want it short and sweet. In the body of the email, you're going to put your headshot. So as soon as we open up that email, we're going to see your headshot, what you look like, because we're going to want to say, oh wow, this is somebody that we need in our roster right now. We're very short on that type, on your type. We need someone, just like you. So let's have a look. Let's see if this person can act. That's how I work. Let me have a look. Let me see. Oh, do they have a reel? No, they don't have a reel because they have nothing on their resume. Okay, well then hopefully they sent a self-tape. So then I'm going to click a link. I don't like a downloadable link because I don't know what I'm downloading. So is it Vimeo? You don't have to download, right? I'm so rubbish at this. Vimeo, you can just click on it, right?
Yeah, so you can embed it.
That's right. Thank you. I see my assistant would be laughing at me right now because I'm just rubbish. Anyway, do a link that you just have to click on, bottom line. I know I'm rubbish. So click on a link and then do a self-tape. No more than 1 minute. That's going to showcase you as an actor. And you don't need to prove to us that you can cry, because I've had an actor try and prove to me that he can cry. So the entire tape he's crying, and he's got no one cries pretty. So it's just this ugly face crying the whole 1 minute. So don't do that. You can show emotion without crying. You can show us different layers in that 1 minute. So, just give us a self-tape. But again, it needs to be great. You need to be ready. And that's all we need, really. Can you be Los Angeles local hire? Where do you live? Can you get to LA if you book a job here in LA? That's it. And if we think, wow, they're really good. I love their look. They could definitely fit in my roster. They're talented. I'll set up a meeting. And I have signed people by just cold emails that have come to me that way. And they're working and I love them and it's worked out.
Nice. I love it. Very cool. I have another question coming in that says, does being a social media influencer play a role when you select an actor or when casting selects an actor?
Not for me. I'm not a social media person myself. I confuses me. I'm too old school. But no. Be careful on what you put on social media. I will say that, because they will look at your social media before they book you. So be careful what you have out there. I guess sometimes if it's an independent film, some people might disagree with me, but it's an independent film, because then it's like, it's good advertisement for them. Or if it's a commercial, sometimes they like to have people with a lot of followers, but no, generally not really.
Do you see casting selecting people based because they have more followers than not? Like if
I
they
haven't.
had 1 million followers versus 10,000 followers?
Maybe for an indie film, probably. But no, the stuff that I've been working on, it's based on talent. And if you fit the role, I guess not. I haven't really.
And isn't there a little bit of a stigma that if you are an influencer, let's say you have a giant YouTube channel of some sort where you're performing, it doesn't necessarily translate to being a good actor?
No, it comes down to being the talent. So you still have to audition. You still have to go through network and studio approvals. It's not just one person that's going to hire you. There's a whole bunch of people that you have to go in front of to audition. And by the way, there's other influencers that have that many followers. So maybe it's just not you that they're looking at. Sometimes we'll see in the breakdown that they want, and commercially, they'll say, we want an influencer that's had 10 million followers or over 1 million followers or even over 500,000. But I think a million's like the sweet spot. I think it's over 1 million. We'll see that sometimes. But with my TV film stuff, I generally don't see that. It really comes down to the talent. And obviously sometimes, if it's a bigger role on a show, they may go with someone with a bigger resume because they're more confident with that person. And, can they handle that role? Can they handle the show and the stress of being a big role on a show. I don't know, but with social media, I tend not to look too much at that. I always just tell my clients, just be careful on what you put out there.
Right. Very good.
You know, I know a lot of you guys can get very political, or, you know, and I'm all for freedom of speech, absolutely 100%. But sometimes just gotta rein in a little bit, right? It's up to you. I mean, I don't know. Can't say anything.
I do want to pick your brain. I know we have a few more minutes remaining, but I wanted to ask you, how do you feel that AI is going to change the landscape over the next couple of years?
That's a tricky one, huh? It's I think we'll be okay over the next couple of years. I think, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm not seeing any change now. I mean, I think we'll be okay over the next couple of years, the next 10, 15 years. I think it's going to be very different. Is that what you mean? Like in the next 10, 15 years?
Yeah, just kind of curious, you know, what your thoughts are.
I mean, it's amazing what it can do. I'm hoping that, you know, with the union and everything, that we can try and limit what they can do. I mean, you saw that one, was it Coke commercial? The Super Bowl?
Right.
Was it Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I mean, they did it just, yeah. And they're just taking out all these actors from these spots. And I hope that there's going to be some kind of way that they can stop doing that. It's just not going to be the same. It just won't be the same
Right.
feeling. I don't think that we're going to enjoy it as much as we do with actually real people, right? If
Right.
it's all AI generated.
Well, that's always been my thought too, because I could watch
Yeah,
a cartoon if I want to watch a cartoon,
exactly.
right? There's plenty of that stuff
Even,
available.
yeah, because we want to get that feeling from that person. And if it's AI generated, I mean, it looks real. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's insane, like what can be done. But then you don't have that. They're not a real person, and it's not somebody that, you know, remember as a kid you could fancy or put them on your wall or run to see, or because none of it's real. And
Right.
so it's just a whole different, just everything's changed. It's quite scary. And we need to have real actors doing this. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I have that AI app, it's going back, but where you can make photos move.
Right.
And I'm addicted to it.
Well,
oh my God.
That's the thing, is I think there's going to be a place for it, and there's definitely
there is a place for it,
productions
and but not for film and TV. Yeah, I mean, even now, I mean, I do a lot of video games. I put a lot of people in video games, and even the video games companies are liking real actors for these games, because they give the emotion. So when like I work with a lot of big companies, and they come to me and they send me the script, and they tell me what type they're looking for. They want a guy 20 to 25. This is what he needs to look like, because they might have a likeness of the character with the actor. So I'm working on actually 3 right now, and they want real actors. And the gaming companies have them actually go on camera to audition. And then when they have a chemistry read, when they decide to have somebody do a callback, they do a chemistry read with the other actors on a stage in person. So the video game companies are still doing that,
right?
Which I like. Because that's real actors too doing this, because these video games are insane. They're like limited series or full on films, aren't they? I mean, I don't play video games myself because I'm absolutely crap at them, but I've got no hand-eye coordination whatsoever. I would crash everything that I would touch on a game. But the graphics and everything on those things are just out of this world. Yeah.
And you would think if anybody embraced AI, it would be that industry first, right? Because you know they're doing code anyways, and they're involved with the computer.
Yeah. But right now they're still using.
I think that AI is definitely going to be changing the commercials world quite a bit.
I hope. Yeah, I know. I hope not. But I think they got a lot of stigma, that commercial. People weren't happy.
Well, also,
so I don't think everyone's ready for that yet.
I think it's going to change the roles for extras. I feel like the extra roles are probably going to start
Well, they can already do that, can't they? They can already, if it's a crowd and things like that, they can just put 10 people there and just they, whatever, however you do it. I'm not very tech savvy, so I have no idea, but you know what I'm saying.
But also, I think too, once AI does come along, let's say 5 years from now, I almost feel like reality TV shows might be kind of the next big thing, because
it's going to be like, what's it called? Black Mirror. Some of those episodes.
Right.
Am I crazy?
No, I'm just curious. I love getting your input. I like talking about it. I like to see what people are thinking about it. Obviously, none of us have.
It's scary. I think it's scary. Yeah, that it's going to take over people's jobs. Yes, for sure.
So let me ask you this: will you ever have an assistant robot in your house?
No, absolutely not. I've seen the ones. No. Would you? You would. You would.
I think it would be kind of fun.
Absolutely, you would. See? Did you see the ones from Tesla? Was it Tesla? Those things walking? Absolutely not. That's not coming in my house. That is creepy.
Would you be able to sleep at night without?
No, it's not coming in my house. I think, are they like, how much are they? They're not too bad, actually. They're like 75,000 or 50,000 or something like that, which I thought it's not too crazy.
I saw a video this week where they programmed two to have cognitive thinking, where they put a bag of groceries on the counter and they said, please put this away. And they didn't give it any instruction. And they took out the ice cream and put it in the freezer, and they took out, they knew what.
I'd like one to clean my house, actually, to be fair. I'm going to take that back. I'll have one that can come in and clean my house every day. That would be nice.
So if somebody started a maid service with the robots, you would hire them. They can come in, but
then I'm taking away part of people's jobs. That's not right to do, is it? No, it's not right to do. No, those things are creepy. I don't know. But can you imagine what it's going to be like in 20 years, 25 years? I mean, with technology is moving so fast.
It's going to be so commonplace. People will think you're crazy to not have a robot.
I agree. I know. It is. Yeah. And my son is all about technology. So I'm just wondering where they'll be at, and just,
Interesting.
Well, I'll be old.
Well, it's an exciting time. That's for sure.
It is.
Well, I appreciate you spending time with us on your weekend. I know you
of course
have a very busy planned weekend there in beautiful Los Angeles, but I hope you enjoy the rest of what's left of your weekend. We didn't take too much of your time, but thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's always lovely to see you. And I hope everyone else has a good day or evening wherever you are. Thank you.
And we will look forward to seeing you hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, hope so. Take care. Bye.
All right, bye. Have a good weekend, everyone.
You too.